Okay, so for the last 30 days, I've been working on putting a serpentine system on the front of the engine. And as opposed to running out and buying a full setup and paying $1,000 for it, I went out and I bought a wrecked S10 pickup, probably 80 or 97, 96, 97 to 02, the first generation square one, and pulled the serpentine system off of it. Now there's a few differences, length of belts and that kind of thing will change, but for the most part you clean it up, pull your whole front assembly off, get the water pump for that truck. I went out and I bought a new one and put it in there, and the reason it's blue is because the new motor that's going in it is going to be blue along with the rest of the car, of course. But the direction that the water pump spins in is going to be a little bit different depending upon the serpentine system, so you want to make sure that you've got the water pump that goes with that system. And the nice thing about a V6 S10 is it's the same block design as a V8. They just hacked off 2 cylinders. So I pulled the full serpentine system off of it, all the accessories, the air conditioner, the power steering, the all the idler pulleys, and then of course the tensioner and the alternator. The alternator, nice thing about the alternator is the one that came factory with the Nova is a 62 amp or 64 amp, whatever it might be. This one is 105 amps, so it'll run all my accessories. I've got new lights and everything, so it'll definitely help. One of the other areas you'll need is the bottom pulley. Now there's going to be some differences you got to do here that definitely make a difference. On the passenger side, when you first set it all up and look at it and bring up the bracket, you'll be like, this thing doesn't fit because of the way it's laid out. And what's really weird is once you put it into place, it falls right into place, even though it looks like it's not going to get anywhere close. Now with the head on the passenger side, the system allows for 2 bolts, one in here and then one over there. This side head only has 1 bolt hole in it. You can run the 1 bolt hole because you've got a pretty hefty bolt down at the bottom that also holds it up, so it uses a total of 3 bolts. And it also uses this nice little bracket back over here that braces it from the tensioner over to the water pump. So you run a stud in that one, and that'll take care of your tensioner and give you the support you need. This bracket is not going to move. I've talked to a few people who have been running this setup for years and say it doesn't even budge. If you've got some newer nice aluminum heads, they'll have the hole drilled for it because they're interchangeable. And when I do change the heads on the other engine, it'll have the more modern LT type heads, so it'll have the bolt holes there. A couple other things that you're going to need to do is on the bottom pulley, the lip is going to be on the back is going to be just a bit too tall, or I'm sorry, too narrow for the coupler. So you're going to have to grind that out a little bit to make room. Grab a die grinder, just make room for that to slide onto your harmonic balancer. And it just depends on what harmonic balancer you use. In this particular case, I had to do it in order to do it. The air conditioner is mounted. Everything is mounted tight. It works really, really good. Rewired the system. And this is one of the things, the car sat in an airport hangar, hence the wiring nightmare back there. It sat in an airport hangar, and mice decided to feast on the wiring back behind the engine. There's a little tube that in back here that runs across the back, and the wires feed through it. Well, the mice got up in it, ate the wiring. And so I took it in and had a guy fix it all. And when I was doing the new wiring for the alternator and everything, I'm cleaning everything up, I'm back there and I realized that he's taken the old wire, left it there, and just taped it. Meaning he still used the same circuit with the burnt wire. And because of that, I had sections of wires that were burnt through there that should have been, the whole thing should have just been pulled and replaced, which I've done here with this new wire. I've got to just trim up down here at the bottom. I need to put something in place. and then all that nightmare back there will go away. But what you'll see is the assembly fits real well. I cleaned this one up. I'm going to powder coat the next one for the next motor. This was just to get it mocked up in place, make sure everything worked and everything was doing good. So I just wanted it clean and everything just like the rest of my motor. One of the other things you're going to run into is I've got a Holley dual feed, and that it comes right out and right into your air conditioning. So you're going to have to tee it off and then run a line back down to your fuel pump, which is nice because I put in a new line. Went out and got a really nice line, put in a nice steel line. That way, if I'm at the racetrack and decide to run it, I won't get in trouble because I got a big rubber fuel line, because you can't have more than 12 inches of fuel line, so, or I should say rubber line. So that definitely helps that. But yeah, it bolted on really easy. I did some minor tricks, like I blasted all the pulleys, cleaned all the pulleys, cleaned the power steering pump, and then of course I had to reroute a couple of lines. This is going to change once I've got the other motor in there. It's in there good enough where it won't mess with anything, and it'd take a lot for it to hit that pulley. But I need to clean it up a little bit more. The way this pump is for the return is different, so I had to route it a little bit differently. But the pump itself, they're all interchangeable. The only thing you have to do is swap the pulley out, so you can use your power steering pump with your fittings, which I would suggest, and then just put this pulley on it, and it bolts right on there. The other thing you've got to change is going to be your hose, mainly because when your small block was built, it came out, and the hose came out this way, right over here to the fill, and guess what? That's in the way. So is the belt. So you can't do that anymore. So I went down and saw my guys at Napa, and they helped me out with the hose. You have to they sell a thermostat housing, and this thing will rotate 360 degrees, so you can point it any direction that you want. So once again, I pointed it to this end and found this hose, which is a Napa hose. And let me get the numbers for it here real quick. Sorry for the whipping around of the camera. I got to figure out where I put it. But anyway, I'll post it in a later video, or if you look at one of the pictures, you'll actually see the number of that, and you'll also see the number of the belt. This is the belt that I got from Napa. The factory one did not reach for some reason. It was too short, which was really strange because, everything is pretty much the same. So there are some minor differences when you bolt up. So you're going to need to go with this longer belt. Once again, it's from Napa. Part numbers are right there. You can see them. Definitely want to do that. And then last but not least, I put in a temperature control, because all this started because the car was having issues starting and having issues with heat, meaning you'd sit somewhere and it would get hot just sitting in traffic. And as everybody knows, these muscle cars just aren't made for putting around in 100-degree weather, and that's pretty much all we do is put around 100-degree weather. So I got me a Champion radiator to put in, built a fan shroud for it because I couldn't see going out and spending all that money. I mean, this is a nice heavy-duty one. Just have to put the last 2 bolts in there, and that's done, but that sucker isn't going anywhere. But I had the fan hooked up to where it just turned on with the car, and in this instance, I put in a relay pack, and it's basically made to run 2 fans, one on the front, one on the back. I'm going to check and see if I even need the front one, but I figured I'd put extra relays up here just in case, and then put in a thermostat controlled switch that turns on at 180 degrees and turns off at 170. This car likes to run cold a lot, so that's why I went with those temperatures. But as far as everything else, if you've got the truck, if you've got a full truck, or if you're going to the junkyard, pull everything off, because you'll want everything. There's extra brackets that you can also use. I've got to put them on. They're over here. There's 4 more brackets. And of course, I got some nice finished bolts to go on it that you can use when you finish it up. But that kind of gives you the gist of it. It fits right on there. Like I said, it's about a 97 S10 V6, but you can upgrade your alternator and go to a higher amperage. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do to make the system even better. But I guarantee you that when she's sitting at a stoplight now with the way it is, it's going to stay a heck of a lot cooler. And like I say, I got provisions to mount another fan to the front if I really want to mount a fan to the front of the radiator. But we'll see how that goes. The only other thing I changed was the air cleaner. I watched an episode of Engine Masters, and if you look over there on the shelf,